It was another regular morning at Ridgewood High School, a bustling campus known for its diverse student body. Among the chatter of students rushing to their classes, a young black student named Jamal Daniels walked through the halls with his books clutched tightly to his chest. Quiet and reserved, Jamal had learned early on that blending into the background was the best way to avoid trouble. But trouble had a way of finding him. Connor White, the self-proclaimed king of Ridgewood, had a knack for making Jamal's life miserable. Connor wasn't just any student. He was the star quarterback, the teacher's favorite, and the son of a wealthy businessman who donated generously to the school. To Connor, bullying Jamal was a sport, and today was no different. As Jamal approached his locker, Connor was already there with his usual entourage. He leaned against the lockers, arms crossed, a smug grin plastered across his face. "Well, if it isn't Mr. Bookworm," Connor sneered. "What's the rush? Got a nerd convention to attend?" Jamal ignored him and reached for his locker, but Connor wasn't done. He snatched a book from Jamal's hand and flipped through it carelessly. "Math? Seriously? You think you're gonna solve the world's problems with this?" "Give it back, Connor," Jamal said quietly, keeping his voice steady. "Make me," Connor taunted, tossing the book to one of his friends. They laughed as they tossed it back and forth, keeping it out of Jamal's reach. The scene caught the attention of a few students, but no one stepped in. Even a passing teacher, Mr. Green, chose to turn a blind eye. Everyone knew Connor's father had a lot of influence over the school's administration. Jamal sighed and stood still, refusing to play Connor's game. Eventually, Connor grew bored and tossed the book to the ground. "You're no fun, Daniels," he said, walking away. Jamal picked up his book, dusted it off, and muttered under his breath, "One day, Connor." One day. Later that day, the principal made an announcement over the intercom. "Attention students, this Friday, Ridgewood High will host its annual talent showcase. Sign-ups are open, so don't miss your chance to shine." Jamal's ears perked up. He had always been gifted with an incredible talent for playing the piano, but his shyness kept him from performing in public. Still, the thought of participating lingered in his mind. Connor, overhearing the announcement in the cafeteria, laughed. "Talent showcase? They should rename it the Connor White Show. Nobody's beating me." After school, Jamal's only friend, Lisa, caught up with him. Lisa was one of the few people who saw Jamal's potential. "You should sign up for the showcase," she said. "You're amazing at the piano." Jamal shook his head. "No way, I'd just embarrass myself." Lisa frowned. "You can't let people like Connor win all the time. Show them what you're made of." Her words struck a chord with Jamal, but he still wasn't convinced. Meanwhile, Connor decided to participate in the showcase, confident that his charm and mediocre guitar skills would earn him the spotlight. "Everyone loves me," he told his friends. "This will be a piece of cake." His friends cheered him on, hyping up his already inflated ego. Connor was used to winning, whether he deserved it or not. That evening, Jamal sat at his piano, the keys glimmering under the dim light of his room. He played a soft melody, losing himself in the music. It was the one place where he felt truly free. As he finished the piece, he glanced at the showcase flyer Lisa had given him. Taking a deep breath, he made his decision. "I'm doing it." The next day, Jamal signed up for the showcase. When Connor saw his name on the list, he couldn't believe it. "Daniels, what's he gonna do? Solve a math problem on stage?" Jamal ignored the snide remark and focused on his rehearsal. Lisa stayed by his side, offering encouragement. "You've got this," she said, watching him play a flawless piece. Connor, determined to humiliate Jamal, began spreading rumors about him. "Did you hear? Daniels is gonna play the piano at the showcase. What a joke." The rumors spread like wildfire, and by the end of the day, everyone was talking about Jamal. But instead of feeling defeated, Jamal used it as motivation. The day of the showcase arrived, and the auditorium was packed. Students, teachers, and even parents filled the seats, buzzing with excitement. Connor was up first, strumming his guitar and singing off-key. The audience cheered out of politeness, but it was clear his performance was nothing special. Then it was Jamal's turn. As Jamal walked onto the stage, the crowd fell silent. He sat at the piano, closed his eyes, and began to play. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, filled with emotion and precision. The audience was mesmerized. Even Connor, sitting in the front row, couldn't hide his shock. When Jamal finished, the auditorium erupted in applause. Students stood to their feet, cheering louder than they had for any other performance. Connor's smug grin faded as he realized he had been completely outshined. Jamal smiled, his confidence restored. For the first time, he felt like he belonged. As Jamal stepped off the stage, the auditorium roared with applause. Teachers, students, and even the principal were on their feet, clapping and cheering for his breathtaking performance. Lisa ran up to him backstage, her face glowing with pride. "You did it," she exclaimed, hugging him tightly. Jamal's heart swelled. For the first time in years, he felt truly seen. Not as an outsider, not as a target, but as someone who mattered. Across the room, Connor sat in stunned silence. His entourage, usually quick to cheer him on, avoided making eye contact. For once, Connor wasn't the center of attention, and it stung. The next morning, Ridgewood High was buzzing with talk about Jamal's performance. Videos of his piano recital had gone viral on social media, with students captioning it things like, "The moment Connor's reign ended," and "Jamal, the real king of Ridgewood." Connor couldn't escape it. Everywhere he turned, people were replaying Jamal's performance or mocking Connor's lackluster guitar solo. Even his friends started distancing themselves, afraid of being dragged into the growing backlash. Meanwhile, Jamal received countless messages of encouragement. Students who had never spoken to him before stopped him in the hallways to praise his talent. It was overwhelming, but heartwarming. Connor, desperate to regain control of the narrative, attempted to laugh off his failure. "It's just a stupid showcase," he said to his remaining loyal followers. "I let him have his moment." But deep down, Connor was boiling with anger. He wasn't used to being overshadowed, and his bruised ego refused to let it slide. "We'll see how long this lasts," he muttered under his breath. Jamal, however, paid no attention to Connor's attempts to undermine him. He was too busy navigating the newfound respect he was receiving, including an invitation to play at a local community event. One afternoon, Jamal was called to the principal's office. Nervously, he entered, expecting the worst. Instead, Principal Harrington greeted him with a warm smile. "Jamal, I wanted to personally congratulate you on your performance," he said. "You've brought something special to this school." Jamal thanked him, still unsure why he had been called. "There's more," Harrington continued. "The Ridgewood Community Arts Council has invited you to perform at their annual gala. It's a huge honor, and I think you'd be perfect." Jamal's jaw dropped. "Me? At a gala?" Harrington nodded. "Yes, and I think it's time the world sees what you're capable of." When Jamal told Lisa about the invitation, she practically exploded with excitement. "This is your chance," she said. "We need to make this performance unforgettable." Lisa took it upon herself to help Jamal prepare. She researched pieces he could play, helped him practice, and even suggested a small monologue he could deliver to introduce himself. "People need to know your story," she said. "Not just your music, but who you are." Jamal hesitated. "What if they don't care?" "They will," Lisa said firmly. "Trust me." While Jamal prepared for the gala, Connor stewed in his jealousy. Watching Jamal rise while he sank deeper into irrelevance was unbearable. He decided to take matters into his own hands. Connor cornered a few of his old friends in the cafeteria. "We're gonna make sure Jamal doesn't have his big moment," he said, his voice low and menacing. "How?" one of them asked, uncertain. Connor smirked. "You'll see." The night before the gala, Jamal stayed late at school to rehearse. Unbeknownst to him, Connor and his friends snuck into the auditorium. They tampered with the piano, loosening strings and damaging the pedals. "This will teach him not to steal my spotlight," Connor said, laughing as they left. The next morning, Jamal arrived early to do a final sound check. As soon as he touched the keys, he knew something was wrong. The piano was out of tune, and the pedals wouldn't respond. Panic set in. "What am I going to do?" he whispered, his hands trembling. Lisa, always resourceful, sprang into action. "Don't worry," she said. "We'll find another piano." But with the gala only hours away, finding a replacement seemed impossible. That's when Mr. Green, the teacher who had ignored Connor's bullying, stepped forward. "I've got a keyboard at home," he said. "It's not much, but it's something." Jamal hesitated. "Are you sure?" Mr. Green nodded, his expression filled with guilt. "I should have stood up for you sooner. Let me help." That evening, the gala was in full swing. The Ridgewood Community Center was packed with attendees, including prominent figures from the arts world. Jamal sat backstage, his heart racing as he waited for his turn. Lisa sat beside him, squeezing his hand. "You've got this." When his name was announced, Jamal walked onto the stage with the borrowed keyboard. The audience murmured, noticing the unusual setup, but Jamal took a deep breath and began to play. Despite the challenges, Jamal's performance was flawless. The music flowed from his fingers like a river, captivating the audience. By the time he finished, the room erupted in applause. But Jamal wasn't done. He stood and addressed the crowd. "This isn't just about music," he said. "It's about resilience, about standing tall even when the odds are against you." His words struck a chord, and the audience gave him a standing ovation. Back at school, news of Jamal's success spread like wildfire. The community had rallied behind him, and Connor's sabotage attempt was exposed. When the principal confronted Connor, he tried to deny it, but security footage told the truth. Connor was suspended, and his reputation crumbled. For the first time, he felt the sting of accountability. Jamal's performance at the gala opened doors he never imagined. He received offers to play at other events, and even a scholarship to a prestigious music school. As he packed up his locker at the end of the year, he reflected on how far he had come. Ridgewood High had been a battleground, but it had also been the place where he discovered his strength. On graduation day, Jamal played the piano one last time for his classmates. As the final note rang out, he looked into the audience and saw Lisa smiling, Connor sitting quietly in the back, and Mr. Green wiping away a tear. Jamal stood, bowed, and left the stage, ready for whatever came next. Graduation came and went, and Jamal found himself stepping into a world he had once only dreamed of. The scholarship he earned to attend the prestigious Berklee College of Music in Boston marked the start of a new chapter. The bustling campus, filled with talented musicians from around the globe, was unlike anything he had ever experienced. Jamal felt both excitement and trepidation as he stepped into his first class. Though he was initially overwhelmed, his love for music fueled his determination. Late nights spent practicing in soundproof rooms and collaborations with other students became his new routine. He felt a sense of belonging that Ridgewood High had never afforded him. But even as he thrived, he couldn't entirely leave Ridgewood behind. The lessons he had learned, the people who had supported him, and even those who had opposed him remained vivid in his mind. Back in Ridgewood, Connor White's life was falling apart. His suspension had stripped him of his privileges, and his once loyal friends distanced themselves. For the first time, Connor was forced to confront the consequences of his actions. His father, once his greatest protector, was now disappointed in him. "You've embarrassed this family, Connor," his father said during one particularly heated argument. "You had everything handed to you, and you threw it away." Connor felt lost. Without his popularity, he didn't know who he was. He spent his days aimlessly wandering the halls of the school, a shadow of his former self. Meanwhile, Lisa had become a force to be reckoned with at Ridgewood High. Inspired by Jamal's courage, she spearheaded a campaign to create an anti-bullying initiative. The program aimed to educate students about empathy, inclusion, and the power of standing up for what's right. Lisa's efforts gained traction quickly. She organized workshops, invited speakers, and even launched a peer support group. The principal, impressed by her leadership, appointed her as the head of the school's new Student Advocacy Board. Lisa's confidence grew with every success, but she couldn't shake the feeling that Jamal's absence left a void in her life. She wrote to him often, sharing updates about Ridgewood and her own journey. Jamal's talent didn't go unnoticed at Berkeley. Professors praised his technique and emotional depth, while his classmates admired his discipline. One day, his composition professor approached him after class. "Jamal, I'd like you to perform at the upcoming student showcase," she said. "It's a prestigious event, and I think you'd be perfect." Jamal hesitated. Memories of his Ridgewood showcase flashed through his mind. "Are you sure I'm ready?" The professor smiled. "You're more than ready." Jamal threw himself into preparations, composing a piece that reflected his journey. The showcase was attended by students, faculty, and industry professionals, making it a golden opportunity. The night of the Berkeley showcase, Jamal took the stage to thunderous applause. As he played, he poured his heart into every note, drawing from his experiences at Ridgewood and beyond. The audience was mesmerized. When the performance ended, Jamal was greeted by a flood of congratulations. As he mingled with attendees, a voice behind him said, "I knew you'd make it." Jamal turned to see Lisa, beaming with pride. She had traveled to Boston to surprise him, bringing a piece of Ridgewood to his new life. They spent hours catching up, reminiscing about their shared struggles and victories. Connor, meanwhile, had reached his breaking point. With no friends, no reputation, and no purpose, he began to reflect on the person he had been. One day, while walking past the auditorium, he heard a group of students practicing for the talent showcase. The music stirred something in him, a longing to create, to express himself in a way he never had before. For the first time, Connor considered picking up his guitar, not for applause, but for himself. Weeks later, Connor approached Lisa in the hallway. His usual swagger was replaced by humility. "Lisa," he began, his voice shaky, "I've been awful. To Jamal, to you, to everyone. I don't expect forgiveness, but I wanted to say I'm sorry." Lisa, though taken aback, saw genuine remorse in his eyes. "You've got a lot to make up for, Connor," she said. "But apologizing is a start." Connor nodded. Do you think Jamal would ever talk to me?" "That depends on you," Lisa replied. "Prove you've changed." At Berkeley, Jamal's talent caught the attention of a renowned pianist, Dr. Evelyn Shaw. She took him under her wing, pushing him to explore new techniques and styles. "You have something special, Jamal," she told him during one of their lessons. "But you need to dig deeper. Don't just play. Live the music." Under her guidance, Jamal flourished, winning competitions and earning invitations to perform internationally. But despite his success, he remained grounded, never forgetting the struggles that had shaped him. Back at Ridgewood, Lisa's anti-bullying initiative began to transform the school's culture. Students who had once felt invisible found a voice, and acts of kindness became more common. Even Connor got involved, volunteering to speak about the dangers of bullying. His honesty and vulnerability earned him a measure of respect, though he knew regaining trust would take time. One day, Jamal received a letter from Ridgewood High, inviting him to return as the keynote speaker for their annual talent showcase. The idea of going back stirred a mix of emotions, but he knew he couldn't turn it down. This is where it all began. he told Lisa, who had traveled to Boston again to help him prepare. "I have to do this." The day Jamal arrived back in Ridgewood was filled with mixed emotions. Driving past familiar landmarks, he was flooded with memories of the struggles he had faced there. But this time, he returned not as a target, but as a symbol of resilience and success. The school had undergone some visible changes since his graduation. Murals promoting diversity and kindness adorned the walls, and the energy among the students seemed lighter. Jamal parked his car and walked toward the auditorium, where the talent showcase was being held. The stage that once felt like a battleground was now a place of pride. As he entered, students whispered excitedly, recognizing him from videos of his performances that had gone viral. Teachers who once overlooked him now greeted him with admiration. Jamal spotted Lisa in the crowd, smiling at him with pride. Backstage, Jamal was approached by a familiar face, Connor White. But this wasn't the arrogant, sneering bully he remembered. Connor looked genuinely nervous, holding a guitar in his hands. "Jamal," Connor began hesitantly, "I don't deserve to even be here, but I wanted to say, I'm sorry for everything. I was wrong, and I know an apology doesn't erase what I did." Jamal studied him for a moment, noting the sincerity in Connor's tone. "People can change," he said finally. "It's up to you to prove it." Connor nodded. "I've been trying. I'm performing tonight. Not for attention, but to show people that I've learned something." Jamal gave a small nod. "Good luck out there." The auditorium was packed with students, parents, and community members. The principal gave a brief speech, highlighting how the event symbolized growth and unity at Ridgewood High. Then the performances began. One by one, students took the stage, showcasing a variety of talents. From poetry to dance to singing, each act reflected the diversity and creativity of the student body. Connor performed a heartfelt acoustic song he had written about redemption and second chances. While he wasn't the most talented performer, his sincerity resonated with the audience, earning him a warm round of applause. As the final act of the night, Jamal was invited to the stage to deliver his keynote speech. The crowd erupted in applause as he walked to the microphone, his presence commanding yet humble. "Thank you," Jamal began, his voice steady. "Standing here tonight brings back a lot of memories, some good, some not so good. Ridgewood High wasn't always an easy place for me. There were days when I felt invisible, like I didn't belong." He paused, scanning the room. "But here's the thing. I found my strength not in the people who doubted me, but in the people who believed in me. People like Lisa, who saw my potential when I couldn't see it myself." Lisa blushed in the audience, wiping away a tear. "I learned that we're all capable of greatness, no matter where we start or what obstacles we face. And I'm grateful for every challenge, because they shaped the person I am today." The audience gave him a standing ovation. To cap off the evening, Jamal sat at the piano and played a piece he had composed specifically for Ridgewood High. It was a blend of triumph and reflection, a melody that told his story without words. As he played, the room fell silent, captivated by the emotion in every note. When he finished, the crowd erupted into cheers, and Jamal stood, bowing deeply. It was a moment of closure, but also a new beginning. After the showcase, Jamal met with the principal and community leaders to discuss a new initiative, a music and arts program dedicated to fostering talent in underprivileged students. Jamal pledged to fund the program's initial stages, ensuring that no student would feel like their potential was limited by their circumstances. "It's about giving back," he told the group. "Every student deserves the chance to find their voice." In a surprising move, Connor approached Jamal after the meeting. "I'd like to help with the program," he said. "I don't have much to offer, but I can volunteer, teach guitar, whatever you need." Jamal looked at him, seeing not the bully he once knew, but someone genuinely trying to change. "We'll need all the help we can get," he said, extending a hand. Connor shook it, his gratitude evident. Word of the new program spread quickly, inspiring other schools in the area to adopt similar initiatives. Jamal became a mentor to countless young musicians, often visiting Ridgewood High to check on the program's progress. Lisa, now a community leader herself, helped expand the initiative into a statewide effort. Years later, at a community gala celebrating the program's success, Jamal ran into Mr. Green, the teacher who had initially turned a blind eye to Connor's bullying. Mr. Green, now retired, looked at Jamal with admiration. "You taught me something, Jamal," he said. "It's never too late to stand up for what's right. Thank you for showing us all a better way." Jamal's efforts didn't go unnoticed. He was invited to speak at national conferences, sharing his journey and advocating for the power of arts education. His story became a beacon of hope, proving that resilience and kindness could triumph over adversity. One day, Jamal visited the old park where he used to escape to play the piano. Sitting on the same bench, he reflected on how far he had come. As he played a quiet melody, a group of children gathered around, mesmerized by his music. Jamal's story wasn't just his own anymore. It belonged to everyone who had ever faced hardship and risen above it. Through his music, mentorship, and dedication, he left a legacy that inspired generations to come.